Thing off. Ben, welcome back to the show. Last time we talked, I was in Singapore. It was late last year. Bitcoin was at 7K. I think I had just eaten pig organ soup for the first time in my life. And we were discussing how Bybit could be bigger than BitMEX. A lot has changed. How have you been?
I've been quite busy, doing quite well, and yeah, it's been a long time since we last met.
So I got to ask, is pig organ soup, is that just something you did because I was there, or do you really go eat pig organ soup? I mean, the frog
Yeah,
was,
it
we
was.
also ate frog.
I eat it once occasionally, not often.
Okay. Okay. So Bitcoin's now at 19K. Bybit's
Yeah.
had higher open interest, higher volume on a lot of days, bigger than BitMEX even, and that's something we talked about when I was there. I haven't eaten that soup in a while, so it's been a good year for me. But I want to ask you, what happened? Like, how did Bybit grow? Obviously, BitMEX went through their own struggles, but that doesn't change that Bybit has been able to grow as fast as it did. And something you were very adamant on when last time I was there was saying, we're going to focus on being the best Bitcoin exchange. No one can beat us on that. How did you get to where you are today? What's changed in a year? Because you're dominating right now.
Um, Many things. We added a few more products. We added on linear or USDT perpetual contracts. We try to stay focused on the derivatives and not fuck up as much. And although we did had a few fuck up recently, which we can talk about later in
Sure.
the show, but I guess our core focus was to make sure that we don't have the overloads. And one of the core strategy for this year was focal on globalization, but with localization. So we focused a lot on Korea, on Japan, on specific European markets. We had the cooperation with the Dortmund, the football team,
Yeah.
the German team. We have a quite big audience over there. So yeah, it was sort of a combination of marketing strategy and also improving the products. Most importantly, yeah.
So how did the Dortmund sponsorship come apart? Before we talk about your exchange, before we talk about Bitcoin, all the new products, you're sponsoring one of the biggest
Yeah.
football teams in the world, and that's also the biggest sport in the world. How the hell did that come about?
It was basically we were sitting down, and we were, one of the mission. Our core mission for the company is to become the most trustworthy crypto derivative exchange and last for more than 100 years. So this was actually the company mission. And we were like, okay, if we want to be here for 100 years and really last this long, how do we show our commitment? We need to find a strong, committed partner to work with them and to demonstrate to the world that we're here for the long run. So we were looking at different places, golf, Formula One, football, and a lot of our audience, I believe, is football fans.
Sure.
So and also we have a quite big local presence in Europe, in Germany, and that's why this whole cooperation came about. And actually, they are very extremely open about this type of cooperations. It's not easy to find a football club that's willing to take a sponsorship if you are simply a crypto exchange.
Yeah.
So that took quite a bit of time, and we actually got the local regulation approval to have that sponsorship. So it went through a few layers, and yeah, it was 6 months in preparation. Yeah.
It's amazing, man. I don't think people realize how big that is either. Like one of the biggest soccer teams in the world, not some small league. This is the Premier League of Germany. They play in that league. So many eyeballs on that every single week, and Bybit now playing a pretty big role in that. It was really cool to see. But let's talk about Bybit the exchange, right? You added some new features this year. One of those was USDT contracts and new coins you could trade. How did you pick Tezos and Link and Litecoin? How do you decide to add new coins? Kind of how does that process go?
We asked our clients, and we had a voting structure, and they voted, and those pairs has proven to be sustainable and tradable. So we also look at the liquidity side, the story, and if there's enough volume to be traded. And that's why we added those pairs. We're adding a few more. I think we're adding Ada, Uni, Sushi, um, Ripple, I believe. But we're going to be adding a few more onto the USDT pairs. Yeah.
Nice. When does that come out? Is this a release? Has anyone heard that yet? Is this exclusive?
Yeah. This I did a product launch, so this was mentioned about 2 3 weeks ago in the
Okay.
product launch event. So this is coming out hopefully by end of this month, but
Okay.
if not, early next quarter for sure. Yeah.
Exciting stuff. More people, more.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, what's more exciting on top of it is we are coming out with the futures, quarterly futures expiration contract, so no funding fees, all of that. What's best is share margin with our current perpetual contract, so you can utilize as a portfolio margin to trade, and use even your P&L to trade our futures contract. We're gonna come out with the current quarter, next quarter futures contract, and then adding on that, we are already finished implementing with MT4. So I'm sure you're familiar
Okay.
with
Yeah. I am.
method code 4. So we're going to actually present the world one of the best CFD sort of product based on our current inverse liquidity, so that it's going to be very tight spread. It's going to be the best CFD to trade on MT4. So that has been quite excited as well. Yeah.
So I know some people heard that and they said, "Wow, Uniswap! I can trade sushi. I can trade these new altcoins." But one thing that's been consistent every single time I spoke with you is that you want to be the best Bitcoin exchange, and adding those quarterly futures lets you compete with people like the CME exchange, lets you compete with people like BitMEX. They've had the quarterly futures; that was a very big product for them. As you add these new features, though, sometimes you can run into problems, right? You have more contracts, you have more kind of complexity. That's more problems potentially you can run into. One of the challenges you just ran into in the past couple of weeks was with ETH USD. And I want you to describe, I think this is probably the best format to do it, because people that love your exchange and trust your exchange are saying, what the hell happened with ETH USD? There was these massive wicks down where price traded far below on Bybit than it did on other exchanges. What happened on ETH USD, and what are you doing to kind of fix that so traders do trust you guys moving forward and continue to trade on Bybit?
Yeah, this is something I want to address because a lot of people come to Bybit to trade the ETH inverse because previously BitMEX never had the Ethereum collateral inverse. So
Yep.
we had that, and a lot of people choose Bybit to trade with it. So our volume on that period is actually quite big. What happened was there was two occasions about 10 days apart that a wick down about $100, $150 within I don't know 2 minutes period, and then it came back up.
Yep.
So it happened twice, but for different reasons. The first time it was simply we had multiple accounts, basically large sell orders, and then what happened is they were selling at the same time, and then it triggered all of our conditional orders that clients set for their either take profit or stop loss. Because Bybit, we actually give the tools to let clients to set take profit stop loss very easily. So a lot of our clients use that, and there was a snowball effect that happened. Uh, on the second occasion, which was interesting, was a huge stop loss order. It was, I believe, close to 5 million contract, because normally when you enter a limit order or any order, we have a size control on Bybit.
Yep.
It can only be 1 million maximum. But this guy had 5 million in total open interest, and he had a stop loss. And that when that stop loss order was triggered, it happens that the order book is very thin. And
Sure.
then he took down the price, and then also triggered the snowball effect with all the others take profit or stop loss conditional orders.
Sure.
So, anyways, overall it was more of a liquidity, more of a risk management. What we did is we actually looked all the cases and fully reimbursed all of our clients back to the fair market price at the time. So the fair market price was determined by the at the time Binance, BitMEX, all these other. We took average price, and then if they have any conditional orders or take profit stop loss triggered with a off market price, we reimburse the difference. Some of the reimbursement was in down half cash, half bonus, but all of that solution we send it to our clients, and they agree. They accept the compensation plan, and then so that took about 2 weeks to finish. So we actually just finished all the compensation compensation plan late last week. So although it's not really our system issue, but we realize it's our responsibility to make sure that clients are getting the fair price market value at Bybit. So we are going to implement three different things to prevent this from happening. One is that obviously a bandwidth or a price limit. So for a single account, their massive market order cannot take down our internal price, let's say more than 3% or something. So
Okay.
this will be implemented in our next update. Also, whenever this type of deviation happens, it means that our internal price, last traded price, deviates from the market price very significantly.
Yeah.
However, when you come to, let's say, March 12th, when there is actual market events, deviation happens, but it doesn't happen suddenly. It happens slowly. Yeah. So we're going to implement a sort of a control mechanism that if it deviates extremely fast, we will prevent that deviation from happening. But if it slowly goes that way, we will allow it because that's more like the market sentiment and market activity. And lastly is to have a much robust market making plan. So we're actually working on that, and we're going to be giving out much better price pools on our altcoins, Ethereum, Ripple, all these other ones to make sure our books are big enough. Because this wouldn't happen on our BTC book, as our liquidity is quite strong on the BTC book. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it's always it's a trade-off, right? Like I spoke with Arthur. I remember this call vividly. This was 2018. And I was asking Arthur, when everyone was using BitMEX, the complaint always was, BitMEX has overload, right? You try to submit your order, you click it as fast as you can. I mean, you're smashing the buy order, the sell order to close your position, and there's overload, and people couldn't get their orders through. And Arthur kind of laughed, and he said, because I asked him, I said, why don't other exchanges have this? Why doesn't Bybit have this? Why doesn't FTX have this? Why does only BitMEX have overload? And he said, it's because once those exchanges are as big as mine, just wait. He said, they'll have overload. So you haven't had overload, but you have kind of had this price band error. So you having those three implementations hopefully does fix it. I spoke with a couple other traders. They said potentially doing a max size of a given order based on liquidity. I mean, there's so many trade-offs, right? It's like free market, let the price go where it should, or you guys controlling it.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to balance.
Yeah. You want to make sure that it's fair, and because a lot of the time it's real market activity. So how do you differentiate that? So you want to be very careful, and also whatever extra layer of protection you add onto the matching engine, it slows the whole thing down. So the more you add, of course, it's a efficiency issue. Yeah.
How have you guys, going back to the overload, how have you avoided having overload? Because I remember that convo so clearly with Arthur, and he's saying, just wait, Luke. He said, just wait. They will have overload if they become as big as me. And your guys' ETH product is far bigger than the ETH Quanto was on BitMEX. Your Bitcoin product on some days is bigger than BitMEX's. How do you not have overload? I remember we spoke in Singapore. It's because you said, we have a team that built an engine that's just better. Is that how you did it? I mean, how do you not have overload?
In the end, I think it's not about the engine; it's about the order flow. So in traditional finance, let's say CME and all these, what I assume BitMEX is based on, is that everything is in the same box. So that when the order comes in, the order service takes the order, does the margin check, does the margin calculation, everything, and then the engine is on the back. It's like a chain. So you have to do all these prerequisites, and then the order goes into the engine.
Sure.
This way, it makes sure there's no error, because one single small error, it would stop. The whole thing would stop. And this is the most prudent way to do it. So, for example, CME, they use it and all that. What we did is when we built Bybit, we understand this, but we were like, well, this is going to be very bad for throughput, for TPS. So can we separate some of the module so that it becomes more like a one box and then 3-4 box or multiple box outside? So our order service comes into a order service box, and all the margin, everything calculation is happening here. But this can be done with many different boxes. So you can imagine if we need 100 box, we can have 100 box. So when we have more order, more clients, we just add on more box. But the engine is on the back, and the engine is receiving all these are pre-calculated order flows, margin checks into the engine. So it's in this way we can achieve the highest TPS. But there's an issue. When there's a small error happens, the whole system needs to recheck and rebalance.
Sure.
And also, what's going on? What we have seen is sometimes when Bybit have an issue, it affects one portion of the clients. Let's say your UID ending with 1 or 2 or 3. And this is because this box is in charge of 1 or 2 or 3. And this box might have an issue, so we will temporarily hold this box and fix the recalculation and put it back in. And obviously, there's also backup system and all of that. So I think it's the underlying whole structure. It's not that we magically have a new technology to invent the engine. I think it's the same engine. It's just the way it's been rearranged. It's like you have the same battery technology, but Tesla can run longer because they realign the whole battery.
Sure.
You know? So I think this is what we did. Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, last thing I want to touch on with the exchange issues, because this is something that traders do consider when they choose Bybit or FTX or Binance or wherever they go, is are you refunding traders that had an issue with that ETHUSD, and how do they get in touch? Are they contacting support, or are you just, is it a case by case, or was everyone refunded? And then I do want to talk about the new features, but for traders that did see the ETHUSD last week and they say, what the hell do I do? Are you refunding them, or how does that work?
Well, I mentioned just now, we already fully refunded everyone who's affected back to their fair market price.
Okay.
So if the market price was 600 at the time, and you somehow your order was executed at 520, and we will reverse the order back to 600 and reimburse your loss. So this is what we did, and I think most clients are very happy with what we did. But again, we're very sorry about this type of issues too from happening, and we don't want this to be happen again.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it's tough. It's a new world. It's not some central exchange that's getting a bunch of orders from brokers and then they compile it. It's peer to peer. I mean, there's millions of people trying to buy Bitcoin and ETH at a different price, and you have to match them with other millions of people that are trying to buy and sell. So it's a constant challenge.
We actually had many clients who made very good profit on the wick.
I was going to say, I bet that did happen.
With the stinky bids, they call it, stink bids, whatever. So for those orders, we leave them alone. We obviously cannot take money away from them. So it was overall, we compensated more than $2 million just for the wicks. So yeah.
Sure. So you don't want those to happen because you lose money and the traders the profit and they keep the money.
What's really bad is it affects people. They don't trust you anymore when you have this type of really aggressive wicks that no one else has. So this is what we don't want to have. We want to present always fair market environment for our trader. Yeah.
Sure. Well, looking forward to seeing how those changes help that, and obviously we'll touch base if they don't. But one thing I've learned is that you and your team will execute there. Moving forward, what are you focused on for 2021? You have always said, I want to have the best Bitcoin product. I want to last for 100 years. And I think traders will move because we do have the best Bitcoin product. You're focused on alts as well, though. Like, how do you think about 2021? Do you want to add more alts, or do you just want to be the best Bitcoin exchange? How do you balance those two things?
Yeah. Adding more alts, it's more of a user acquisition sort of thing. I don't think it's so much as more important as really improving the features. I think I was looking at one of your tweets. I think people was commenting on our latest UI and all of that.
Yeah.
So we realized that our latest UI, there was a few missing pieces. There was when we designed this, we didn't consider clients. But basically, we had the old UI. It was when client moved into the new UI, and they were so used to the old UI, some features, and we didn't have it. So we want to make sure to improve on that. So there's a lot of small things we need to improve. For 2021, it's to focus on the details of the product. And we spend a lot of energy on our mobile app. So our mobile app is getting extremely popular. So we would like to make sure that's becoming better. And obviously, we want to have some innovations, have some new product coming out. And that's one of my focus. How to really sort of have a more crypto-oriented product, because
Yep.
right now Bybit is still a centralized exchange. What we do is very old school. We want to have some new school, have some innovation into it, and really have this crypto tone. Yeah.
Are you hinting at a DEX there? Are you thinking about getting in the decentralized exchange game?
It could be, but I'm not. I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay, okay,
But this is I think the direction the whole industry is moving forward to.
sure,
So this is something we definitely don't want to be missing out. And I think this whole so you have two road basically. I'm for me, my logic is I'm facing two road. One is a hard left where I go like BitMEX. You can easily see they're going towards the regulation routes
sure.
with new CEO and all of that. So, but then you have the other route that's very sort of crypto native, decentralization, all of that. So which way do we go? By not going or not deciding, I'm delaying, and that's a choice, and that's going to be a problem too. So this is something I want to spend some time to figure it out and see which direction. But me, to be honest, I'm leaning towards the crypto side.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Well, that's where the 100-year vision comes in. I'm
yeah,
curious on your thoughts on the overall crypto market then. We've obviously seen an insane run up on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at 20K. We're at all-time highs. Everyone's excited about where we could go price-wise, how many new people are coming in. You have a really interesting viewpoint, being one of the biggest Bitcoin exchanges in the world, of where that growth is coming from. What regions are you seeing Bybit grow the most in? Is it Southeast Asia? I know you said you wanted to focus on them more. Corona kind of hurt that because you couldn't travel as much and have local meetups and such. Are you seeing Europe more? Are you seeing, what areas of the world is Bybit growing the most in? And I think that'll help people understand, where are people buying Bitcoin?
right. Europe is for sure number one that grow the most significant for us, and then in Asia is Japan and Korea that grow extremely fast.
Yeah,
So I would say it's more crypto embracing places that are raising the thing. Southeast Asia, we haven't seen so much activity. So for me, it's more of putting my flags there, and I think there's a growing potential there.
sure.
But the real number comes from Europe, Japan, and Korea. Yeah.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on Singapore starting to allow banks to open crypto exchanges? Is that a good? I mean, partially, when I see that headline, I'm thinking that's incredibly bullish. Banks are on board, more governments are on board. But you running a crypto exchange, how do you think about that? Now you're going to have to compete with the banks. Is that bullish for you? Is that bearish for you? How do you think about that?
Yeah. First of all, I think the whole Singapore authority and regulation is not ready yet. And this is go back to the conversation we had. We are actually in Singapore, and so we talk to the regulations and the authorities quite often. And even we talk to DBS Bank before they announce this news.
Really? Really?
Yes, because we are actually thinking of obtaining the first crypto, legal license in Singapore. But they received, I think, close to 1,000 applications. Among that application, you have Alibaba, you have Tencent, you have all the big company applying for it, but
Yeah.
no one got approved. No one got approved. And we called them and we were like, what's going on? Why are you not approving? Is it because COVID? They were like, no, it's not because COVID. It's just because we have the guideline, but we don't know how to proceed forward. And when we talked to DBS, and DBS was like, well, if you have the guidelines there, we can follow, but we need to see the regulation to move first. So I don't think they're ready. But hopefully, I think Singapore will be one of the first countries to move forward and embracing blockchain or crypto, because all the major exchange and projects are now moving their headquarters into Singapore. So it's a huge opportunity for the government and the local economy there. So I think, but to be honest, I don't think it's going to be a competition, because we are still struggling to find a way for clients to change their fiat to crypto.
Sure.
A completely legal way. So I think the more the merrier that is better, and the market share is going to just grow. Yeah.
The market share will grow, Bitcoin will grow. Hopefully your exchange business grows. That's funny though. I mean, you're competing with Alibaba and Tencent then, some of the biggest companies in the world. Is that and you view that as a good thing? It's hilarious. It's funny.
Yeah. Regulation in a way helped us because there's no clear regulation. That's why this company couldn't come in.
Yeah.
They obviously realize it's very profitable in this area.
Yep.
They couldn't move in because regulation is holding them their back. So they're waiting for clear instruction. Once it's clear, I think they're gonna come in here with a lot of power, a lot of heat.
So Ben, how do you think 2021 goes, man? Obviously, you focus a lot more on the exchange business and building this and trying to build the best Bitcoin exchange in the world. But price-wise, I mean, you spent a lot of time looking at the Bitcoin chart. Where do you think this thing goes? Are we ready to blast through 20K? You see how many new users you're getting each week. We've seen CME grow. It seems like a new institution, a new hedge fund, a new company every single day is buying billions of Bitcoin. Are we ready to blast off? What's going to happen here in 2021?
I think so. I'm always bullish. I think Bitcoin is still very, I think Bitcoin valuation just overpassed Morgan Stanley or Morgan Chase, whichever it is. So, if you think of it that way, it's extremely small. It's still extremely small. So even if the price goes 10 times, it's normal. So if I'm here for the long run, my focus is to be prepared when the price goes 10 times more. When that sort of mass adoption happens, will we have overload? Will we have different problems with Bybit? So this is one of the focus I keep asking my team is let's be really prepared for the industry to be mass adopted. Right now, it's still extremely small, and that's why we try to focus on our product. And I think the only thing that helps, one of the key things that helps with mass adoption is you need to have the mass adoption ready product. So and this is what we want to focus on. Yeah.
This is always refreshing to talk because I spend so much time in crypto, as you do, and sometimes it feels like there's no way we're still early. But when you size Bitcoin up next to a small bank or a big bank, I should say, size Bitcoin up next to any company, I mean, it's kind of laughable to say that Bitcoin is priced appropriately. It should be much higher. So obviously, we have big 2021 ahead. Hopefully, we can have some more pig organ soup and share some beers in Singapore and maybe even check out one of those BVB games, man. It should be fun if coronavirus chills out.
Yeah, if you check, we always have some advertisement on the side on the football stadium. So check it out.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, if they allow fans in the games, hopefully we're at one of those games next year, having a beer and watching Bitcoin rip to all-time highs. It is always a pleasure to have you on here, Ben. For any of the traders that have any questions about what happened last week, the improvements that are happening, I know you've been tweeting updates. Hopefully this episode cleared it up, and I know that Bybit, at least in the time that I've been following you guys, are very, very adamant about helping traders with their customer support. So I appreciate you hopping on, Ben. It's been a fun journey to watch, to see you build this thing, and I look forward to the next 100 years of Bybit and of Bitcoin.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Have a good week.